So first of all, thank you for attending this session on the challenges of global supply chain and how InterSystems IRIS addresses those challenges. So that there's going to be three of us talking to you today. Myself, where I'm the Senior Advisor for Global Supply Chain for InterSystems. And we have Ming, who heads up Supply Chain Strategy for InterSystems. And then we have Paul, who's the Operation Director for M-Tech. And M-Tech is a very long partner for us out of the UK. And what we're going to be addressing is we're going to spend some time on what the different types of supply chain challenges that we're having today, not only from our perspective, but also from Gartner's and IDC's perspective. And then we're going to talk about how InterSystems IRIS for supply chain addresses those business challenges. And then we're going to talk about some benefits, some actual use cases that M-Tech is doing now in life sciences and retail and CPG. And then the product roadmap for the future of what we're doing with IRIS for supply chain. And then just one or two takeaways. So the first one here is that we conducted our own study of 700 different business leaders around the world for both retail, CPG, manufacturing. And what we came up with, and I'm going to share with you the top 5 from those, from that survey. And we were just at the Gartner Supply Chain Symposium a couple weeks ago, and we reviewed these with them. And so both IDC and both Gartner agree that these indeed are the 5 top business challenges. But it's the lack of accurate end-to-end visibility and reporting with actionable insights. And what's really important is the concept of accurate and actionable insights. And we're going to get into more on that in just a little bit. But also we're hearing so much about data silos and that we don't normalize, and it's that data is disparate all over in that end-to-end supply chain. I don't think that's anything new, but it's a very difficult, what we're hearing, to be able to integrate to get to where we need to get to. And then difficulty performing analytics. You know, it's interesting how companies we spoke to lately are using, which calls into the next one too, is manual processes. So it's amazing how many companies are still using Excel spreadsheets for their demand and supply planning and using that to put into SAP and Oracle. And there's an opportunity for us to be more predictive and prescriptive when we get into, and that's what the market is telling us. And then how can we help be able to improve time to decision? And we heard that too in the keynote this morning, where there's significant latency in data and being able to get time to decision. And we're hearing that so much is time to decision. So these really are the 5 key business challenges that we're addressing. The next few slides are from IDC. So IDC, and this is just published. I'm not sure if it's, I'll be honest with you, if it's even out at this point. But the left-hand side you can see is pretty, we know about this, and because we're dealing with it every day right now. But what I'd like you to look at is like the second and the third bullet point, where there's a lack of digital competencies that are limiting us to be able to get to the stage that we need to get to, which I'm going to talk to you in just a little bit. And then the lack of sufficient collaboration with our suppliers. And it's just not tier 1, it's going into tier 2 and tier 3 that we need to also be concerned about. But I think what's key to me is this first one, where it's a lack of supply chain visibility and resiliency to be able to move to necessary changes in time to react. And it's the first time that I've seen this come out of IDC, that they're saying it in this way. And you'll see that it's a perfect overlay of what the rest of the team is going to be talking to you about over the next 40 minutes. And on the left-hand side in this are, again, further challenges from IDC, from their most recent study. And you'll see on the left-hand side that we're dealing with a lot of these right now. Inventory shortages, there's quality issues, there's factory capacity and closures, there's the lack of supply chain planners and people. And I think that's a key one that I want to talk about. In fact, I'm surprised, to be honest with you, that it's that low as a percent. It's still high, it's 30% of the respondents. And I'll give you some examples of why I think it should be a little bit higher from what we're hearing. And on the right-hand side is what is the industry doing about it? And the first one is supplier diversification. But then we hear about improving supply chain planning tools. And then greater flexibility and execution of fulfillment. But it's interesting because, to me, it would be almost number one what we're hearing about is better integration from all those different application systems. Because if you think about it, granted this is IDC's study, right? It's not our study, but we're hearing time and time again that better integration is going to allow you for those applications to be better at what they're doing. Because there are a lot of issues in being able to get to the ultimate demand planning and supply planning. So I think this one is really interesting because in talking to Simon Ellis, so Simon Ellis from an IDC, so he runs the manufacturing and consumer goods for IDC. And he said it's the first time in his survey that visibility is number 2. It's the first time that agility has taken over as the number 1 spot. And when you define agility, agility is all about flexibility, being able to be more time to decision, but across your entire organization. So you'll see in the pie chart that they mentioned so many different applications of what is being done within the end-to-end supply chain. And so the flexibility is, again, where you're going to see is so important of where InterSystems IRIS and supply chain is going to help be able to manage managing risk from an agility standpoint. And then this slide here is, again, and I was talking to Simon, so it says 2015 to 2020, right? So it's a little bit outdated. They don't have the recent numbers yet, but they will be. But I think that's okay because he's saying that he feels the numbers are going to be even higher. So the disparity of going to a digital supply chain is 21% improvement in revenue and almost equal 21% as you move to digital and profit. And that to me is pretty impressive. And just the opposite happens if you don't move from this linear supply chain into a digitally collaborative supply chain, your revenue will be reducing and profit will be reducing. So I thought this was a pretty impactful slide that was shared. And so again, from IDC's perspective, is they feel that the future of supply chain is data through analytics to action, right? So it's good to have analytics and know what's going on, but what are you going to do about what you're seeing? So it's the action aspect of what we need to get to. And I'll jump down to the 4th bullet point, is be more predictive and prescient. So prescient, for Simon's word, is an elaborate way for saying predictive. But we need to even, where we're going with it is, and you're going to hear about this, is prescriptive, right? Is we want to go beyond predictive to be prescriptive in our recommendations and options. And obviously resiliency in both internal and external disruptions and collaboration at scale. Because when you think about the entire supply chain and the end-to-end ecosystem of all the partners and all the different application systems and ERP systems, I thought when I was talking to Corning, they had 32 different ERP systems. We spoke to a company last week, 52 ERP systems. And, that's a lot. And you put in all the applications and all the freight forwarders, and we'll get into this in a minute. That's a lot of data to be able to manage and get to the point of having impact on a particular KPI or business outcome. So this particular slide here is something that I've been on the board of directors for Association of Supply Chain Management for many years now, or at least for 2 terms, and we worked with Deloitte when we put this slide together. And it's a very good depiction of where we're going in supply chain. So we're moving from a linear, traditional supply chain. In fact, it came up in the keynote this morning, as we're moving to this digital supply network. And I've been in supply chain for over 25 years, and it's the first time that I've seen that a chief supply chain officer is not only managing, obviously, supply chain, but managing manufacturing and production. And so the whole, what we call intelligent supply chain, is merging with smart factory. And we play right in the middle of that, and that's what we're doing. And that's what Ming and Paul are going to be talking about, is that we're right in the middle of that digital core. So it's a sweet spot of helping us manage where supply chain is going. Here's one more slide from an external viewpoint, is from Gartner. And we were talking about this. I was talking to 3 analysts at the Gartner Supply Chain Symposium 2 weeks ago. And this is their metric. And as you can see, every company goes through, so data capture, data processing, insights, integration. But the issue that they said, in their words, not ours, is that we're missing this horizontal data layer, this data platform that can bring it all together. And that's exactly what we're doing here at InterSystems. And they're extremely interested in talking with us to understand how we're doing that from the perspective of supply chain, because there's just so many different silos of every aspect of that is siloed, where we bring it all into one data platform, which we're going to be talking about in a minute. So how are we addressing everything that we just spoke about? How are we addressing from a InterSystems IRIS, from a supply chain perspective? So this particular slide here, as you see it build out, it was about, I'd say 4 weeks ago, I was talking to the Chief Digital Officer for Chevron, right? So 16th largest company in the world. And what he said to me when we were going over this slide is he said, you know, I like this because it says what you're not, which then infers what we are. And so we're not another ERP system, we're not an application, we're not a data warehouse. We're sitting on top of all of these systems. Exactly what Gartner said. We're creating this horizontal data layer. And that's where we're sitting to help manage companies through the business. And so this slide here, so on the left-hand side, I've already mentioned everything that the data sources, right? And the TMS and the OMS and the WMS. And then we get to the target. So what's interesting here in this slide is that our special sauce of what we do is that we have 4 key capabilities. So we have the integration. So any source, any format we bring into the data platform. We have data ingestion. So we're doing it at rest. We harmonize, we normalize. Again, that's the second. That's going into the data platform. And then the third is we have embedded analytics. So we have our own embedded, so our ML and our AI is embedded in the data platform. And then the fourth is interoperability. So we bring the business processes. So we're simulating and bringing in business processes into the data platform. So all 4 of those are working together. And it's interesting because when you look at the targets, that really opens up the art of the possible. So if you think about this, I was talking to the Chief Supply Chain Officer from Mondelez, and she said to me, she says, you know, I think that we have optimized within manufacturing, but we haven't on the first mile and the last mile. So how do we, and what she meant by that was from there's a lot of tribal knowledge that's been lost because of all the loss of the productivity and employees. So how do we manage human decision making? How can we assist the people that are still left in managing the business to optimize? And that's what we do. So we can assist the business users within each of the functional groups within the supply chain. We could be the control tower if we wanted to, or we could feed information into a control tower. Systems and SAP, right? We can put, so all the different modules of SAP, we can help optimize certain aspects of SAP by pushing that information in. And then applications. You know, a true story with Levi Strauss, for example, is they have so many. So they have Maersk, they use Maersk, and they use Evergreen as their freight forwarding and container transportation. They have 09, they have SAP, they have Leander, they have Infor. So they have all these different systems. But the point is that when they get to demand forecasting, is that it's such a mess. The demand forecast is so highly inaccurate that all those promotional deals that you're hoping to be able to improve can't happen. And so that's what we're doing with them, is leveraging our data platform to help push information into the execution systems. Because we're not an execution system, but we can help optimize a company like 09 within that particular environment. So as four key capabilities in one. And we do it through a smart data fabric architecture. And we do that from the perspective of efficiency and scalability. That is where we have a significant differentiator. Again, one data platform, four key capabilities, and then leveraging the data fabric architecture. On this slide here for the challenges, my last slide before we give it over to Paul is that we're all about predicting parts and product shortages, late and early shipments, and with actionable insights. So what do we do when we know something's going to be late? How do we improve production efficiencies, S&OP, sales and operations planning, and then demand fulfillment and out of stock? And the same thing with prescriptive recommendations. What are we doing to help take it to the next level? And then supply chain orchestration, meaning how can we help rebalance inventory to be able to ensure stock availability, no matter what vertical that you're in. Doesn't matter if you're manufacturing, retail, life sciences, medical devices, everybody's dealing with stock availability. And this is a key area that we play in. And that's something that Paul's going to be talking about when he comes up next, where he's using InterSystems IRIS within and with his end customers to help impact several of these different KPIs. So Paul?
I'm Paul Martin from M-Tech Computers. We develop, sell and support a software application called AMO, which used to stand for Advanced Mail Order back in the day when catalogs were all the rage. Now obviously it's expanded quite significantly, and we're now quite a large ERP solution with orders coming from all sorts of different channels, from catalogs, call centers, websites that customers have, from other multiple channels like Amazon and eBay. We're have national and international sales. We're based in the UK, but we have customers that sell into Europe, sell into the US, across a number of different market sectors. Quite a disparate selection of market sectors. Just to talk a little bit about the application that we sell, it's an ERP solution which consists of all the modules you'd expect to run a business from end to end, from taking orders from any particular channel through pick, packing, dispatching, procurement. We also develop websites, which I'll go on to later on for clients. We also have a lot of integration. Obviously, with an ERP system, you need to integrate into different channels to import orders. You need to integrate into shipping systems, into payment gateways, into other marketing channels. So we've got a lot of integration capability. Obviously, it runs on InterSystems IRIS platform, and we've had this product, and it's been developed for the last 25 years on InterSystems technology. One of the things we did fairly early on, once we developed the ERP system, we developed websites, e-commerce websites, which integrate seamlessly into our ERP application. Also, that's developed on InterSystems IRIS platform, which we found to be the most efficient way, really, to develop websites. It gives us ultimate flexibility. We can literally do anything we want with the website and scale it to any level we want for any of our clients. And that's not to say that we don't also integrate with platforms like Magento or Shopify. Some of our clients have already got those platforms and they're happy with them, so we integrate with those too. But a platform of choice for us when we're developing websites for clients, and most of our clients have websites developed by us, is the InterSystems platform. We also have a point of sale module within the system, so we have customers with shops and showrooms throughout the UK. So you can take orders from call centres online. You can then have those delivered to a home, to any kind of store. Some of the home delivery options that we have include installations at home for people that have large equipment or complex equipment. So it's a true omni-channel system as well. As I mentioned before, we integrate with all the major shipping companies, which you need to be able to automate the label production and feedback tracking information to the shipping companies and also to clients in different ways, whether via email or from websites. We also integrate with a lot of multi-channel sort of partners for importing orders, pushing information, pushing products and sucking back orders from places like Amazon or eBay, other sort of systems such as Channel Advisor, Shop Creator, Store Feeder, and obviously all the kind of standard payment integrations for lots of different banks, including things like PayPal, Amazon Pay, Apple Pay. The supply chain challenges that we've seen from our clients are sort of quite varied, but they consist of one or more of the following shortages. Every sort of one of our clients has experienced that over the last few years, from both from COVID and for the recent sort of war in Ukraine. Changing customer behaviour, that's for sure, because when shops and retail premises closed, everyone kind of jumped on the internet and started ordering over the internet. And digital transformation in order to make those websites better and more attractive and be able to sell more to customers. So I'll just go through each of those. One of our customers that benefited in some ways from COVID, because everyone was sort of stuck at home. They were sort of a gardening company. Everyone suddenly jumped on the website and started ordering gardening products. And within a matter of weeks, they went from taking about 2,500 orders a day to 5,000 orders a day. And they went from doing sort of an average of 2 or 3 lines on an order to 5 to 10 items on an order, so that their demand just increased, significantly. And within a very short space of time, they had 100,000 orders, which they couldn't completely fulfill. They had some products for some orders, but not enough to fulfill all the orders. So that was quite a challenge, and it wasn't something that they could immediately sort of satisfy. You can't just unblock a supply chain that easily. So what we did using the InterSystems IRIS platform was develop some dashboards so they could actually see what problems they had and what solutions that were possible from those problems. How many orders were stuck, how were they stuck, what products were they stuck for, when were those products coming in from purchase orders. So we developed sort of special dashboards so they could actually see it and visualize, what the issue was, and also then some functionality to be able to sort of solve those issues by deallocating stock from some orders, allocating stock to other orders to try and shift some of these orders out of their business. And by doing that, they managed to pick and pack 25,000 orders to completely fulfill some of their customers' requirements. In terms of changing customer behaviour, as I sort of mentioned before, a lot of customers suddenly, when COVID hit, they all jumped on the internet to start placing orders. That put quite a lot of strain on infrastructure, on websites, and website sort of demand. People were on there placing more orders. They were on there longer, browsing longer. So that put quite a significant impact on sort of systems that were supporting websites. And obviously ours were supported by the InterSystems IRIS platform. Obviously having that platform was great from our point of view, because it meant that using the web add-on, we could enable the system and the websites to have any number of users that people wanted, really. There was no sort of limit from that point of view. And also just the natural efficiency of the InterSystems database meant that we never had any sort of scalability or performance issues. And in the UK, there was quite a few companies that were struggling with the web demand. And we were sort of asked to help out one sort of leading pharmaceutical chain in the UK that had issues, and their website just couldn't cope with the demand. So, we ended up helping them out. Digital transformation was another sort of area where one of our clients, they were sort of in the mobility sector, and they had a nice website, but they also had showrooms all around the UK. And obviously when COVID hit, all those showrooms just closed down straight away. But they still needed to sell. They needed to sell mobility scooters. It was not the ideal thing to sell on a website. I mean, some people were buying them, but generally you want to go to a store, you want to try it out. So what they did is using our sort of developers, we enhanced their website. So we had a lot more video on the website so they could see the scooters in action. They had advisors that could actually talk to people through the website instead of using sort of chatbots, actually having sort of real people. They had 360-degree photos of and movement of the items. Because when you're not in front of somebody to actually sell them a product, you've only got the website. You have to try really hard on the website and have a lot of rich content to be able to convince someone to part with a few $1,000s for a motor scooter. So that was our sort of example of sort of digital transformation. And a lot of our customers, when the pandemic hit, they all kind of rushed to improve their website because that was how they're getting most of their orders. In terms of what about the future, I think one thing it's kind of taught us and taught everybody really is the fact that everybody knows that businesses change quite rapidly. But I don't think anyone quite expected in the case of COVID and in the case of the war in Ukraine how quickly you have to adapt. Sometimes your business model almost turns on its head within weeks, and you really have to kind of have systems that can adapt and not just show you, have dashboards which show you sort of what's going wrong, but actually suggest what you can do to sort of fix those issues. So it's important to sort of have insights that are sort of built into the system and be able to perform actions on those insights. To get you through issues. So when you hit them, you don't just have a report or a dashboard telling you what's wrong. You can actually do something about it. That's I'll hand over to Ming now. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. So now you heard from Mark what kind of supply chain challenges we're facing and how InterSystems IRIS and InterSystems technologies can help to solve some of the problems. And you also heard from Paul how actually Paul's company is using our technology to solve some specific challenges in supply chain. So hopefully you got excited about, InterSystems can also help supply chain. So now how do I get started? Right? What do I need? What can I get? And I actually heard several questions like this morning already when we're doing some of the demos from our supply chain desk. And by the way, if anybody interested, it's on the 5th floor. So how do I get started? Do I just need IRIS? Will IRIS be the solution for me? The answer is yes and no. Yes, you do definitely need IRIS. And a lot of the capabilities that Mark mentioned earlier, 4-in-1, right? And all the special technical sessions you've been hearing today, and more coming up tomorrow on the platform side, that all these new technologies that InterSystems offers, yes, all of this is going to help our supply chain journey here. But we're not going to leave you hanging there just by yourself. Here is a smart data fabric data platform. Go ahead, solve supply chain problems. I mean, why we want to make everybody reinvent the wheels to repeat certain things, right? So we are doing more for you from the supply chain perspective. So in addition to the IRIS data platform, we also give you add-on components, what we call IRIS for supply chain framework. So what does that mean? Putting the technical side aside, what really means is this is a version of IRIS which speaks supply chain language, understands supply chain concept, knows how to handle supply chain data, and it can help you to implement your supply chain logic with very little code or even no coding. So that's what this layer is about, the supply chain framework, to help you to implement pretty much most of the, if not all supply chain issues. You're going to need something from this framework to help you out. So Paul, if 20 years ago you had this, you probably can help more clients in supply chain area. So we're getting there. So this is something that we offer. You'll be getting if you want to use InterSystems technology for supply chain. So specifically, what's in there? So you may want to know, forget about the fancy words. What exactly do I get out of that? So when I say we speak IRIS for supply chain, speak supply chain language, that means we have a built-in supply chain canonical data model as a starter, which covers end-to-end of your supply chain, from inbound to the outbound, to the manufacturing, the internal supply chain processes, everything. And not only we can define it, and we cover the most common object, concepts, attributes, we also understand that no supply chain are the same. Because you always have something unique to your business, what makes your business successful. So we also make sure that you can take that as a base and you can easily extend it to whatever special situations, business case you need to do your work. So it's an extensible, customizable data framework for supply chain specifically. And on top of that, we have building analytics capabilities pre-built out of that canonical data model. So you don't have to do a lot of designing and encoding potentially and other things in order to get some no-hanging fruit out of it. For common supply chain solutions, you pretty much can just configure, here is my business metrics, here is how I define my risks, and here is how I measure my success. And you just make one simple REST API call, it's in the system, and then once you know the data, you see the result right there without any coding for some common supply chain issues. And that's what this framework will help you. And I got another question today is, Ming, what kind of supply chain use case do you solve out of box? And I would say, not really any of them. Because our framework and what we are providing is generic. We let you to define your own problem, your own use case, and your own solution using your own business rules on your own business data. That's what we are going after. And so if you're saying which out-of-box problems do we solve, I would say that's probably not the right question. It's really what our platform enables you to do with your own supply chain. And so the framework I mentioned here, so we have the data model, we have analytics, we have a framework to define your own KPIs, your own business metrics. We also have all the necessary tools for you to connect all the different technologies that Mark mentioned, like interoperabilities, analytics, AIs, MLs together. So you don't have to worry about the basic plumbing. You focus on your business use case and your own solution. But that's probably not enough. And as you're trying to solve your supply chain problem, you want to get more help, whether it's really about your logistic solutions, maybe it's really about your forecasting of your supply demand or other things, right? So you need some additional help in your very unique supply chain business solutions. And we are not going to be expert in all supply chain business. We don't provide WMS, warehouse management. We don't track your container ships, right? But we can work with our partners and others. And that's what we call the smart data services. And this is a cloud technology that InterSystems, it was debuted last year, I believe, for those who have attended the sessions last year, the summit. This was first introduced then. And I think there's sessions about this in this year's summit as well. So putting the fancy word together, what does it mean? So what that means is if you're a supply chain practitioner, what that means is you can go to a catalog to say, what supply chain services I can get out of this catalog. And if you see something you like, you need to leverage, you click on it, a few clicks, it's available to work together with your existing InterSystems IRIS-based supply chain solution. It's that simple. So if you're a developer, what that means is you can basically develop some solutions and then which can be easily deployed in any cloud environment and work seamlessly with the other solutions you develop on the same platform. And if you are a business partner like Paul or some of our partners, what that means is if you want to make your services, your solutions available to a broader marketplace, and this is the technology you want to use because you develop it and then it can be in many catalogs and a much bigger marketplace will have the visibility to your solution. And you can reach out to more customers that way. So that's really what this smart data service is about without going through the weeds. And of course, at the center of our solution, we talk about all these capabilities and actionable insights, prescriptive, and all of these things. At the center is what is really analytics. And for the last couple of years, InterSystems has been very much focused on analytics. Different people may have different ideas about analytics. So it may mean BI to you. It may mean some kind of business intelligence report, a pivot table, or other things. But to others may mean, maybe it's about AI or machine learning, right? So it can be different. Actually, it's all of these things, right? So what we have today, in addition to our embedded analytics, we have these adaptive analytics, which give you a cloud-native infrastructure, which also give you the combined unified platform to combine BI and AI together. So you can have BI to do all the BI work, which seamlessly connect to any of the AI solutions that you might want to leverage. And it's an open platform. It doesn't mean you can only use one of the AI providers with one of the BI tools. No, and these allow you to hook up these different things through our platform. Whatever you have already in place works well for you, stick with it. And this platform will help you to combine all these power together to help you solve problems. So that's what I want to say about the product in general. So with the remaining time, I'm going to do a quick demo. Do I see 0? I'm running out of time? Oh, OK. That scares me with 0 clock there. So what I'm going to show you is a simple use case. We're not going to have enough time to do a thorough demonstration of our capability. There's a lot that I just mentioned, and will take probably 30 minutes to do a thorough demo. But I'm going to just to show you give you a little taste what you can get out of the current IRIS for supply chain today. So this is a schematic to showing a typical supply chain. You have suppliers on one hand providing raw materials, parts, and other things to your warehouse, to your manufacturing plants. On the other side, you have your customers. They have different demands, and they order stuff from different locations of your supply chain. And then you have to really connect all these dots to make your supply chain work effectively and efficiently, right? So once you have a risk or you have a disruption somewhere, how will you handle it? If you have a logistic disruption, am I going to just focus on logistics, trying to solve it from a logistic perspective? In some cases, you cannot. You may have to see the ripple effect. Maybe you'll have to fix a problem more downstream. Yeah, what does that mean to my supply chain, and how do I minimize the risk? So I'm going to show you a little demo here with some of these. So here, the first, by the way, this is a demo UI, don't think as a product offering UI. So this is just to highlight the capabilities, what you'll get out of the IRIS for supply chain. So you'll see we have some highlights, a few areas in supply chain that our data model covers. These are not only things we cover. We just highlight a few things. So you will see the orders. We cover both inbound and outbound orders, manufacturing orders, transfer orders, and so on. We also cover shipment, both inbound shipment, outbound shipment. Inventory is at the center of your supply chain in most of client cases. You have manufacturing, if manufacturing is part of your business. And we cover all these areas. Because you have this data model ready for you, and from day one, you can start loading data. And we will connect the dots from inbound to the outbound. If you are manufacturing, we understand the bill of material, we understand the inventory. And then we can connect the impact of the dots and analyze the impact from one side of the supply chain all the way to the other side. And this is another dashboard that we can show a little bit more. And on the top, you'll see a bunch of KPIs. By the way, all of these is one REST API call away. And you can define your own with one simple call to define your own business metrics, how you measure your risks or your performance. And we have one particular here we call predicted late. And this is where you get the data. And we are leveraging our analytics, ML, machine learning capability to predict something is going to be late. So even though the carrier says this is going to be on time, it doesn't mean that will always happen. And you can leverage your existing knowledge of your past data, your understanding of impact on logistics based on other factors like weather, geopolitical event, anything. And then you can predict when something can arrive or they're going to be late. So we do have a model and predicting things late by using that capability directly out of IRIS. And on the order side, it's similar concept. A lot of these, all these KPIs are configurable. And we also derive issues out of the KPIs if needed. What the issues means. Issues means there's a risk. It's a concern. That's something you want to track to really minimize the impact on your supply chain. And the whole issue lifecycle management is all part of that supply chain framework that you're going to get. I'm going to just quickly run through this screen here. And once you track the issue, we not only capture what kind of transaction it's about, what causes it, and we'll do additional analysis based on your own business rules that what is the impact on your supply chain. And not only we understand the impact and then give you some basic core analysis, we also provide the recommendations. This is tied to both Paul and Mark mentioned actionable insight. So to get to here, it takes a lot. Really, the interoperability you heard a lot in the keynote session today, it takes all of those. Interoperability means what? Means connecting data to data, connecting process to data, process to process, BI to the BIs to MLs to AIs. And at the end, when you put all of these together, it really connects our platform technology to your business solution. That's what really, at the center of interoperability that our platform provides. And I'm not going to go through the details what this means. Basically, it means you have a shipment going to be late, and you have impact on your supply chain. And we will go through all the scenario analysis based on your business process and give you the analysis result, what's the impact on the dollar amount, what's the impact on the timing, and other factors. And then tell you what you really should do based on all the information we have. Not necessarily on the platform of IRIS, but also other services and data IRIS have have the visibility to. And we'll combine all of this together, provide the recommendation. And a user can, in this case, review and then take whatever action is needed. And from here, when the user makes a decision, the system can continue the business process, whether it will trigger a notification to somebody or trigger a transaction to another system like ERPs. You can automate the whole thing. And what's even better is because IRIS persists all the information, all the analysis, you will have access to all the historic data. And this will help you to fine-tuning your machine learning algorithms and so on. So in the future, for similar problems, you may not have to come here and review it and then pick an option. The system can auto-execute it for you once we reach a sufficient confidence level of similar problems. So I will highly recommend, if you're interested, visit our experience lab outside. Oh, it's back. Yeah. Visit our supply chain desk on the 5th floor and see a more thorough demonstration. So I'm only showing you very little bit here because of the time limit. So what's the key takeaway from this? So most of the folks here, you probably already know IRIS. You already have the technology. You may also have the in-house expertise. So what we are saying here is you have a lot to start taking on supply chain challenges within your organization by leveraging your existing resources. And we are here to help to make things even easier for you by giving you that supply chain framework and all the additional services that we just talked about. And really what we are aiming for is the actionable insight, right? We heard a lot from Mark, Paul, and others today. And our value proposition is really accelerating time to value and by providing a connective tissue technology. So that's really the key message. We have a couple more sessions coming up. Tomorrow, Mark will be hosting a roundtable, I believe same spot here, right? And on Thursday, we'll have another session on control tower topic, which will have a little bit more demonstration and conversations on manufacturing-related topic. Still in supply chain, but with a little bit more focus on manufacturing side of the story. So we have some helpful links here for folks who want to follow up to learn more about our solutions. And with that, I think I'm going to just open up for questions. All right, so we are here next few days, so feel free to stop by the supply chain desk. And if you have further questions, reach out to any one of us. We'll be happy to continue the conversation with you. Thank you very much.